Hello, welcome back to Rare Reads, and today I am going to talk about this book, The Stars Are Not Yet Bells, by Hannah Lilith Asadi. I just came across this in the library. I'd never ever heard of it before, never heard of the author before. I liked the title, so that's why I picked it up on the basis of the title. And then I'll just read you the first chapter. One is very, very, very short, so I'll just read this. So I always read the first page if I want to, to help me decide if I'm going to buy a book or not, or read a book or not. It is not yet the end. Moss descends from the oaks, thick as curtains, veiling the night's secrets from the living. A wild mare and her foal are out to feed before the dawn. Seagulls bark their hunger at the sky. And Lyra, our island, remains above the sea. The ocean has not yet engulfed all this, even though I have woken from that dream I've had again and again over the decades. In last night's rendering, after the island had burned and sunken into the waters, and all the stars had fallen into the Atlantic, I could still swim, and beneath the surface, wandering among the blue constellations like a mermaid, I at last found Gabriel. What an opening to a book. It reminds me a bit of, it's got that dreamlike quality. It reminds me a bit of, last night I dreamt I went back to Mandalay again. It reminds me a bit of the beginning of Rebecca. I would describe it as like a modern Gothic, or even like a Southern Gothic. It is set in this fictional, actually, island called Lyra off the southeast coast of America. And it's about a character called Elle, who is an aging woman who is haunted by her past and by a sort of fleeting relationship she had with a guy called Gabriel, who died sort of tragically young. So that's kind of the premise. And it's very, I would say, right, if you like this, if like me, this is one of your favourite books of all time, Gatsby, which I know a lot of people really love, Great Gatsby. It really reminded me of Gatsby in terms of kind of the feel, just the feel of it, and it capturing that sort of quality of longing for something that is impossible to ever obtain, kind of thing. So that kind of obsession and longing and being haunted by somebody in your past, a fleeting kind of love in your past, kind of it kind of encapsulates all of that in a really powerful kind of way, in the same sense that Gatsby does. Another thing that I like about it is it does explore sort of social hierarchies, social class, social kind of norms and expectations. So the plot, not to give too much away, but I'll just give you a kind of sense of the plot. So Elle, as a young woman, is sort of matched up with this guy called Simon. So Simon they are from different classes. So she's from a much kind of lower class family kind of thing, whereas Simon is from a well-to-do family. And this is kind of in sort of Depression era America. It starts off in New York. And she's kind of matched up with this guy basically because his family need to get him out of the way, need to get rid of him because he's gay. So the family know that he's gay, and they don't want him to bring shame upon the family. And so they come up with this crackpot idea that on this island, that they want him to go and be a prospector, basically. There are these rare blue stones, blue gems, and they want him to go and be a prospector. They do have a name for these blue stones, which is eternal, I'm probably going to say this wrong, ceruleum, I think is how you say it, but eternal ceruleum. So basically they send him off under this. So he's got a brother who is very much kind of the golden child of the family. And he is the black sheep of the family. And they send him off on this kind of fool's errand kind of thing, to go and mine these stones under the premise that, he's going to become like really, really wealthy. So that's kind of the sort of the setup. So they marry him off to Elle so that it all looks, respectable, whatever. And they send him off to this island called Lyra. And I think the island of Lyra is quite an interesting thing as well. So I went and did a bit of research on this. You know, is it a real place? There are some real places in America called Lyra, but they are not islands. This is a wooded island off the southeast coast of America, it's described as, which doesn't exist. So it is a fictional island. And if you do a bit of research around Lyra, so in the constellations, there is a Lyra, which is in the shape of a harp, which is meant to represent Orpheus, who obviously played the lyre and enchanted and bewitched people by playing on his, and charmed, you know, beasts and creatures and things with his lyre. So I think that's quite a nice thing in terms of the way that Elle becomes enchanted by this character of Gabriel. And also I think it's an interesting just play on lie. You know, it's a lie as well. And this book does explore memory, which often lies to us, and Elle actually is suffering from dementia. So you've got all of this kind of going on in terms of themes, and it being it's a very rich book, I think, in terms of symbolism and themes. Just as when she has flashbacks into her past, and she recalls the men is largely the men in the book. So Simon, Gabriel becomes involved in this as well, searching for these rare blue stones. And this is actually how Gabriel ends up losing his life, is that he dives too deep into the ocean. He's taken her off in the night. They've gone off in a little boat, and he's just dived, and he's dived in the wrong place, kind of thing. And he ends up losing his life. He drowns. But just as the men are searching for this, you know, mythical blue stone that, you know, probably doesn't even exist, you've got her in the future, kind of in the present of the book, searching for this character of Gabriel. And she does go searching for him, even though she kind of knows he's dead because she has dementia. You know, things are kind of fragmented in her memory and in her mind, as things do become. You know, you lose touch with, you know, reality and you know, memory becomes unreliable, does it, or even more unreliable in dementia. So you've got, she is searching for this lost love, Gabriel, just as the men are searching for the stone. So I thought that was a really clever kind of parallel that's being drawn. If you like a book that is hauntingly beautiful, is how I would describe it. If you like, you know, you kind of gothic fiction or modern gothic, and like I said, if you like something like, you know, Great Gatsby, then I would say definitely this is definitely worth a check out. I really, really enjoyed it. I find it really moving in places. The other thing I'll just mention, and I'll drop a link in down below of this. At the beginning of the book, you've got this little inscription from a poem. The earth is not yet a garden about to be turned. The stars are not yet bells that ring at night for the lost. It is much too late. And this comes from My Mother on an Evening in Late Summer by a poet called Mark Strand, another writer I'd never come across before. But I went and checked him out, and I read the whole of this poem, and it is a really, really beautiful poem. And he's somebody that I will probably check out some of his other work, actually, Mark Strand, on the back of that. So I'll drop the, because I just found this free on a website. So I'll just drop the link if you like poetry as well. That would be something else to check out. But well worth a read. And thank you to Mansfield Woodhouse Library for introducing me to this book that I'm sure I wouldn't have come across otherwise. So just a quick one, that one for today. Thank you for watching. As always, keep reading and watch out for the next one. And don't forget to like and subscribe and all that business, and take care, and I'll see you next time.